Speaking of the free speech cause of Rumble, as most of you undoubtedly know because we've covered it so frequently, Rumble, and therefore this program, is unavailable in several countries, one of which is the country of France, the other which is the country of Brazil, where we happen to be based. The reason Rumble is unavailable in France is because France ordered Rumble to cease platforming Russian state media such as RT and Sputnik, and Rumble said to the French government, we're not going to follow your orders about which media outlets we are and aren't allowed to platform. If adults want to listen to Russian state media, we're going to allow them to do so. In contrast, YouTube immediately obeyed and pulled those down. And then so France said, if you don't obey our orders, we're going to make you unavailable in France. And ever since, Rumble has been unavailable in France. I was amazed. I was in France, I think last year, maybe the year before, the last year, I believe. And I had forgotten about this, and I went to go look at something on my show on Rumble, and I got a message saying Rumble is unavailable in France for that reason. The other country in which Rumble is unavailable, and there's several, is Brazil. And the reason for that is because, as we've documented many times, Brazil has adopted one of the most aggressive censorship regimes on the planet, or at least in the democratic world. And every day, practically, Rumble was receiving orders from the Brazilian Supreme Court, from one judge in particular, Alexandre de Moraes, ordering the removal of videos, but particularly the banning of all sorts of users, including many of the most popular elected officials in Brazil, Brazilian journalists, Brazilian activists, and Rumble got to the point where they said, we're not going to collaborate with this any longer. That was the same conclusion Elon Musk and X reached. That's what got them banned from Brazil. Eventually, for a variety of complicated reasons, X capitulated, and they were able to get back into Brazil after a year, but Rumble never did. It stayed out of Brazil. It's been unavailable in Brazil for about a year and a half now. And that all changed today. Here you see from Folha of São Paulo, the largest newspaper in Brazil, just full disclosure, the newspaper with which I work. I'm a columnist there. I do reporting there sometimes. And there you see the headline that we've translated from Portuguese to English. The conservative platform, not exactly an accurate description of Rumble, but whatever, returns to Brazil, and Eduardo Bolsonaro shares Alan DeSantis' program. Quote, Rumble's CEO had announced at the end of 2023 the deactivation of the service in the country, citing profile suspension orders as a reason. Now, why did Rumble now get back to Brazil? Why are they now able to operate in Brazil? One reason is there's a lot of pressure now on Brazil, and particularly on this judge, because of the election of Donald Trump and the emergence of Elon Musk inside the government. Because when X originally announced it would no longer obey these censorship orders, it created a massive war between X on the one hand and this judge on the other. And it got to the point where Elon Musk even said to this judge, Alexandre de Moraes, he posted a graphic of him in prison and said, mark my words, one day you're going to be in prison. And he called him a dictator and called him for him to resign and accused him of all sorts of crimes. That judge eventually banned X from all of Brazil. And as I said, it wasn't until X capitulated and said, we will obey these censorship orders, did they get back on. But obviously Elon Musk has not forgotten about this. And the largest news weekly, kind of the Time magazine of Brazil, Veja, reported today in the title that Lula's advisors, the president of Brazil, Lula, his advisors, have warned this judge, Alexandre de Moraes, that if he's planning any trips to the United States, he should reevaluate them, telling him, quote, any federal judge can have him arrested if he steps there. They want to take revenge on Moraes, says an advisor to Lula. Now, nobody in the United States government has said anything like that. Neither Elon Musk, nor Donald Trump, nor anyone in the government has even hinted that they intend to arrest Alexandre de Moraes if he intends to come to the United States. It could just be a kind of hysteria that Lula's advisors have based on a caricature of Trump and Elon Musk. But the fact is that on some level, I believe it's always healthy when people in power have some sort of fear of the consequences of abuse of power. And this judge up until now has had none. And if this is in his head, which I'm sure it is, then that can only be a good thing. But it's not just Trump's reelection. There's also now a serious investigation by the Organization of American States, which is an organization of Latin American countries, investigating whether Brazil has been assaulting freedom of expression. It's actually countries in America, Organization of American States, including the United States and others, where they're now in Brazil formally investigating whether the Supreme Court has been violating the free speech rights of Brazilians, which undoubtedly they have. And there you see on the screen the arrival of the OAS investigators in Brasilia, the capital of Brazil. And you see the STF building, which is the Supreme Court building. And there is a video, I believe we have of them as well, meeting with the president of the Supreme Court in Brazil, as well as this particular judge, Alexandre de Moraes. So the pressure, there you see Moraes sitting there, he's the bald one. And there's the president of the Brazilian Supreme Court meeting with the OSA investigators. So you have this kind of confluence now of pressures on Moraes to stop censorship orders. And within the last 2 weeks, he has retracted some of the most controversial ones, including an order that required Rumble to ban a very popular podcaster in Brazil, whom Rumble had hired, and then shortly after, the Supreme Court ordered Rumble to ban him, and he is now back on the internet. Other targets of the censorship regime have been back on the internet, and so Rumble announced as a result that it was now returning to Brazil. There you see the headlines from Le Monde announcing this return back to Brazil. Rumble, an unmoderated video platform, is blocked in France, according to Le Monde, but it is now returning to Brazil. So it's very unusual to have a kind of reversal of censorship powers, because once countries get their hands on censorship powers, it's very inebriating and intoxicating to have the power to decide who can and cannot be heard. But there's also a lot of pushback possible, and the fact that Trump has been elected and has been, obviously, there's an expectation that he will be at least somewhat adversarial to the government of Brazil, and the fact that Elon Musk is playing a major role in the Trump administration, had a war with this judge. There's no OAS investigation. The judge just reversed a lot of the censorship orders, has signaled to Rumble that at least for now it can return to Brazil. The fact that it wasn't available in Brazil is a very powerful indictment of the state of free speech in Brazil. Hopefully this signals the restoration of some free speech rights in Brazil. And as I've said before, one of the things that's happening in the democratic world is that each country is going a little bit further and a little bit further, and each time they do, that signals to other countries that they can go further too. It was not a coincidence that Brazil banned X from Twitter, which had been considered a inconceivably extreme measure, just days after France arrested Pavel Durov in Paris, the founder of Telegram, because he had refused to turn over user data and obey censorship orders from France, which sent a signal to Brazil that they could even go further. And that has been what's happening. So any kind of reversal of these trends is something that, from a free speech perspective, is certainly something to be celebrated. I'm thrilled that Rumble is now back in Brazil. I think they deserve immense credit for their obviously principled stand, where they've said we would rather sacrifice our own corporate self-interest, our ability to access markets, if it means we have to violate our principles about what we believe the supreme value of free speech on the internet is. And hopefully that will be rewarded in a way that rewards not only Rumble, but all citizens who ought to be able to use the internet freely to express the political opinions that they believe in without being punished for it or censored for it by centralized governments. Almost 2 billion people, 2 billion across the world, enjoy a cup of coffee as a part of everyday life. But how many of these people, those 2 billion, get to drink great coffee? You don't have to suffer the side effects of low quality coffee, anxiety, insomnia, jitters, acidic stomach aches, headaches, even heart palpitations. Real quality coffee doesn't have these side effects. That's why I drink 1775 coffee. It's what coffee should taste like and how it should make you feel. Your cup of coffee every morning can be much better with 1775 coffees. Single farm, high altitude, hand picked. No old beans, no mixed origins, no mold, fillers, or dangerous chemicals. It's coffee that helps you sleep better, feel better, and give you the energy and focus coffee was meant to deliver. Try it for yourself. If you don't love your first cup, it is on us. Send it back for a full refund. Not the actual cup, but the coffee. No questions asked. Go to 1775coffee.com and use the promo code GLENN for 15% off. Plus, every purchase enters you for a chance to win a Tesla and $30,000 in cash. Go to 1775coffee.com today and improve your morning routine while supporting the cause of free speech of Rumble as well. Thanks for watching this clip from System Update, our live show that airs every Monday through Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern exclusively on Rumble. You can catch the full nightly shows live or view the backlog of episodes for free on our Rumble page. You can also find full episodes the morning after they air across all major podcasting platforms, including Spotify and Apple. All the information you need is linked below. We hope to see you there.